everybody, it's Miss Mika here. I'm really excited about today's art lesson. You are going to need your iPads because we're going to be doing some photography. You will also need a piece of paper and a pencil, and we're going to be drawing on top of our iPads. Not drawing on the iPad, but putting the paper on the iPad and using our pencil to draw. So watch the tutorial and have fun. Thanks everyone. Okay, so our first step today is to take our iPads and take some photos that we're going to use to trace and draw. These photos are going to be used in our bigger artwork, so you want to keep them and possibly print them, and I'll show you what I mean. So our first step is to put your camera on selfie mode, and we need to take a side profile photo of ourselves. A good idea to keep in mind is on our Egyptian art theme, usually the Egyptian artists would draw or carve into the rock, into the hieroglyphics. You would see the pharaohs and the people drawn from a side profile. Do you remember that? I might put a photo here so you can see that. Can you see their faces are that side profile? Interesting. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a side profile of a selfie. I'm doing this live, so you're going to see me try and jiggle to take a photo. So we're going to pose in this side profile. You want to make sure that you're, nice and close. Okay, I'm looking at the camera at the same time. It doesn't matter about your hair because we're really wanting to capture these shapes of the side of our face. You could do one normal. You could pose and snap the camera smiling. And you could even pull a very royal face. Does that look royal? Yes. And then snap those shots, and I'll show you what I printed out. You will laugh. Let me get this. So here is, okay, I don't think any of my photos were a serious face, but I printed out the photos. It's going to be really helpful for our artwork if you can print out your photos. This is an A4 printout. It's black and white. You can see my profile. So I've got that one. I also like this funny face that I took, everybody. Can you see this one? So you could have an expression like this if you like, and I have one just smiling. You really only need one today, but take a few photos of yourself. Of course, you can ask someone to help you take the photo in this way. And if you don't have a printer at home or your parents can't print it for you, that's fine. We're going to be tracing the photos for art today. And if you can get it printed, that's great. Otherwise, we'll use what we draw today. Great, let's draw. Okay, so I'm going to open my Photos app where I can find the photos that I took of my profile. And so you need to help me choose. I pulled some funny faces. So I have this lovely face. I took a smiley photo, a funny, and I just have lots of funny faces. I think, you're looking at shapes. So this one's quite good. It's got some fun shapes. So I'm going to choose this photo. We need to make it brighter in order to trace on top. So I'm going to change the brightness. Can you see the slider there on the bright thing? So check that it's up fully bright. If it's not, look how dull the photo gets. It's a bit duller, so make it fully bright. And then we're able to trace on that screen. So I'm also going to make my photo black and white. So you can click on the photo, press edit on the top right corner. And then if you press on the left, can you see the little icon with the 3 circles? That's the filter setting. And you can go to the bottom on the right side. You can scroll and go to the bottom and you'll find black images. This will help us see underneath our paper when we trace on it much clearer. So I'm just going to choose one of these settings and press done on the top right corner. And now we're ready to trace. Okay, so now what we're going to do, now that I've edited the photo and it's black and white, we're going to take a sheet of A4 paper. My iPad is much bigger than yours. Maybe yours is an iPad Pro, but mine fits A4 paper perfectly. Yours will be a bit smaller, and that's fine. Okay, so as long as you draw, on top and trace, you can see that with the brightness, you can actually see through the paper, which is really cool. My room's a bit bright. I have a bright door, so I might actually close the curtains, turn all the lights off, and you might see it brighter. So now I'm going to take my pencil and I can start to trace. You have to be really careful because look, I touch this and I can kind of touch through the paper. So it will be a challenge. It might be helpful to have your hand on the page as you draw. Okay, all right, so I actually moved to a completely dark room. But what I'm doing is I'm sitting on my bed with the curtains closed because I'm gonna take the piece of paper and it's almost like I can see straight through the paper. How good is that? So we're gonna do this trace. I'm gonna put my hand carefully flat on the area, and then I can take my pencil and start to trace around the face. Yeah, I think the lighting change is much more helpful. Don't you agree? Okay, so I can carefully trace on my paper around my face. You can see that having my hand in this position is not allowing the photo to move as I draw on top, around the chin line, around the neck. Now I've got a bit of shoulder in here. This is also a really important feature of what we've photographed. So I'm going to follow the lines. Now it looks like there's a bit of a line here. This is the collarbone, so I am actually going to draw that. I'm going to draw around the hair or whatever shapes you can see. I've got some clothes on, so I'm going to draw the straps around my shoulder. Maybe you're wearing a t-shirt, there's some straps here. Okay, I've got a lot of hair around my face. Now this is your hairline. This is a really important line to trace as well. I've got my head. Now I've cut my head off. I probably should have photographed that, but that's okay. I'm just gonna draw around there. Draw around there. I've got my eyebrow I need to carefully draw. And try and be as accurate as you can with your lines. Now, this eye actually doesn't really look like an eyeball, but it's a bunch of lines. So I'm just kind of coloring in. There's a nostril here. It looks a little bit like that. Can you see there with my tracing? And I can even shade that in a little bit because it's a dark area. There's a bit of an imaginary shadowed line around the nostril here. It's like a little bit of a hook. Maybe there's a little bit of a shaded line there. I'm just going to put. The lips as well are quite hard, but they're kind of like that. I'm just going to gently shade them in. Maybe even there's a little bit of a shadow just here around the chin. What about this jawline? A lot of shadow and shading there, so I'm going to draw a line there. Maybe I can be tricky and turn my pencil on its side, and all that shading practice we've done in class might come in helpful here. It might make me look like I've got a beard later, but we can check. And then I've got some little hairs here, so I'm just going to draw some of those lines. I'm not going to color in all this right now, but I might check. So what we can do now is I'll turn the lights on and we'll have a look at what I've drawn. Okay, so you can kind of see my lines with the lights on. If I turn the iPad off, you can see my trace and my drawing go. So we can now probably just use the photo here and have the photo next to us and continue detailing with the shadows and the darker and lighter areas. It might be really nice to work into the hair here. Or you could decide to trace all of those little strands and streaks working on the clothes, and what a cool idea. iPad tracing. So there you go, and make sure you keep these drawings because we're going to use them just like we're going to use the paper we did last week. Thanks everybody.